Hi, I'm Scott Silverman, and I'm here today with Stormie Grace to talk about her upcoming workshop for the NCGR on April 22nd, 2023. It's going to be all about Stormie.
It's about astrology meets business. We are going to learn to build successful practices. And this is just part one. I'm hoping I get to come back for the next 10 years and teach more about building successful astrology practices. I love this stuff.
Oh, great. Well, now, I'd like to ask you something about Astro-Branding from your company's chart. Which planets would be associated with branding, and what houses would one look to and seek to strengthen in the company chart?
Yeah, this is so fun. And I actually kind of stumbled on this on accident, going against most of the traditional astrology I had learned. And what I found out is that by looking at the planet sign at the ascendant, the ruler there, and the midheaven, I have not missed yet in being able to pick out the company's colors and how to best use that energy. But this, for me, I want to share this portion so that people can understand. In the development of being a human being, I have really grown to understand that Venus Taurus vibration that I have. And I started to be able to see business charts in terms of their branding colors in colorology. And this is where it came from, is looking at that ascendant and that midheaven and saying, okay, these look like the branding colors. And I tell you what, I went back to some charts of companies that were already established and was able to spot Z on Z, get them. So that is actually what I use. And then any planets, of course, that are in aspect, the condition of those particular planets in the chart. And we can look right there and start to pick out some colors, some fonts, and then the deep emotional bend of the branding. I really do want to know what the chart ruler is doing.
Wow. Well, this may have carried over into my next question, but since branding is in a sense about conveying an image or a sensibility to a potential client, to what extent would the ascendant be a factor with its double symbolism as both persona, the way you appear, and others as a signifier of others in your life? The ascendant must be doing double duty here.
I know. Well, good job, ascendant. You know what I mean? But I do think in a business chart that the ascendant and the midheaven do get to share the job, and a burden shared is half a burden, thank goodness. So I do think that they carry on that same public perception and the same public image as well. But one of the other places that we're going to talk about in this workshop to honestly see where you can go in your branding in terms of the emotional content that needs to be in there is in the lunar phase of your business's chart, as well as where is your business at in its progressed lunar phase, because this tells you a lot, especially in the natal lunar phase. What is the nature and temperament of your business in the first place? So what might it have a natural message to? So it also changes the shape of the branding a little bit, because if you are a business that is natally a first quarter energy, you might have clients that want to move quickly. And that may be a part of your branding strategy that you need to get out, get in there, get out, say it, move on.
Or frequent changes too, right?
Frequent changes. People may be coming to you to tear something down, or something is tearing down in their lives and they need help to rebuild it, as opposed to, are you a business that is maybe balsamic and people are coming to you and they have heavier things, or they're dealing with grief, they're dealing with trauma, they're dealing with bringing in their psychic sense. So these things also will change the feel of how we'll emotionally brand with a business.
Wow. I'm really looking forward to the workshop. What other chart factors would be especially important?
I do like to look at what's going on between the sixth house and the midheaven in the chart as well. In terms of that sixth house, how does your business work in a daily way?
Right.
In Stormie Grace's business chart, I have Taurus in the sixth house. And so I can tell you from the beginning, I'm not really interested in lots of changes, being jostled. The business doesn't particularly like that. It has to be a nice steady stream of productivity, but it's also going to be done pretty slow, right? And this is the difference between someone pushing on their business and saying, no, we need to produce, it needs to be like this, and understanding oh, my business chart has Aquarius at the 6th house. I need to fits and starts, right? I need to do fits and
Right.
starts, right? Or my business chart has Aries at the 6th house. I might need to find a virtual assistant quickly because I'm going to get bored with what I start, and that's perfect. That's the thing, is understanding the perfection that your chart is built with and then providing solutions on how to make it as successful as possible. So things like that, those are some important positions we're going to look at.
And there is something very sixth house about part-time virtual assistants, isn't there? Right? Oh my God.
Yeah.
Now, in talking about the role of color, creating a harmonious brand based upon the chart, does the color scheme have anything to do with the classical color scheme that the ancients associated with the 7 visible planets?
I have to honestly say no in my experience of it, right? Because I know when we talk about colors of, I actually just had this conversation, we talk about Libra, and there are some traditional colors. And for me, when I look at a business chart and there's Libra at the ascendant or Libra at the midheaven, I'm like, where are the pinks? Where are the blues? And they need to be pale. They need to be like this, and it needs to have this little bit of hue. So for me, in terms of how I'm downloading that colorology, it's maybe not always as traditional. Now, I guess the good news is, though, you get, a Saturn ruled chart, and we're going to do black, blue, white, red, gray. We've got some pretty traditional colors that I think we're going to work with. So
well, it sounds to me, next time I paint my house, I should get in touch with you. Now, what if the branding planetary rulers of the company chart are weak, afflicted, or somehow besieged in the natal chart of the person creating the company? What if the color palette suggested by astrological factors and the color palette that the client personally prefers or gravitates towards are radically different in hue, tone, or frequency? Which palette should one go with to ensure business success? And does it matter if that besiegement is going on?
No, this is your business's chart. It's like I treat it like a child's chart. Just because your son likes blue and you don't like blue doesn't mean your son doesn't get to wear blue, right? I get very Saturnian about this, and I get pretty serious to treat your business like a separate entity. And if you're running a business like a business, you are an expense to your business. So I kind of think we got to learn how to get on board here. You know what I mean? Let this business be what it was birthed to be. And I do run into this with people. They'll say, yeah, but I don't like that color. But then, what happens, Scott? They build the business based off of the business's chart, and the business goes out and attracts and brings in who it needs to. So I try to give the analogy of treat this like your child or your pet. It's an entity that is separate from you. So just because you don't like it.
Or just because I have a weakness in my chart doesn't mean my company chart has to suffer from the same weakness.
Absolutely. And sometimes what we'll see, because, typically it's a self-employed person doing this, you'll find that weakness in your chart, your business chart, throws you opportunities to grow yourself, right? It's really phenomenal the way that they work together, much like the parent-child dynamic, with probably slightly less therapy.
Amazing. According to traditional lore, electional charts are supposed to look like the event for which they are setting the stage. Is the same thing true for the company chart in terms of branding? In other words, would one seek to elect a company chart with branding concerns in mind? Should a company selling solar panels have a Leo ascendant or a strong angular sun? Or is it a strong Mercury, which rules retail, more important, since the company was created to sell and market solar panels? Should promotion materials for a solar-themed product feature, for example, a bright yellow? Or do we just let it happen? Do we try to get 2 steps ahead of ourselves and plan the chart in terms of our branding strategy?
Right. I hear what you're saying. And it's a mixed bag, because I'll tell you, with Stormie Grace, as it started, I just picked a date, I picked a time, I trusted my gut, and I said, whoever you are, here we go. And we have been rolling. ever since. However, in 2022, I built a separate business, and I built it very, very consciously, even built it using my own method, right? And the idea was there, I wanted to focus in on business. So I knew that I wanted to choose an election that was going to help me do the kind of business practice that I wanted to. So I do think it's a mixed bag. Sometimes you have to just wing it and go. And how many of us have done that? You're like, I don't know, I got to just start talking about astrology, or I got to just start doing whatever. And then as you kind of go along, it's a great place for a rebrand. Or if you are trying to get ahead of it, it's a great place to sit down and do the election and think about what is the vision of what you're trying to create. Now, the other part of this that I will say is back to my parent-child example. You may be trying to create a vision and your business is like, yeah, but I don't want to play baseball, Dad. These charts, these businesses are absolutely phenomenal at not getting on board with what you think that they should be doing. So it's kind of this interesting place. And then you learn to work beautifully with it and highlight and bring out everything that chart has to offer in that realm, in that direction.
So building on your parent-child analogy, then, where does the fifth house enter into this? Like between the owner of the company and the company? This is kind of an interesting thought.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a place I would definitely look to say, what is this dynamic? Is there, a preponderance of the owner's planets that sit by synastry, in the business chart, or vice versa, or what's the ruling planet? What's the connection that's happening there? And we can really just astrology geek out on the whole chart once we get it here. You know what I mean? It's kind of like trying to work your baby's chart before they're born. You're like, well, this is obviously how it's going to be.
We're not supposed to do that.
And I don't know how often it works anyways, because I can tell you too, in the last year, of the people that I've worked with, just a handful of people, 2 of them came with pre-elected charts of I want to start my business this date, and something happened and they had to take a different time, or they had to take a different date. So it really is, I have a lot of, hold on, just breathe. Your business chart will be born into what it needs to be.
So you're part midwife now. Yes.
I know it. I just know it. I got this Cancer North node. It's like the integration of my Capricorn North node, my Capricorn South node, where I'm like, okay, but can you make that make money? And the North node that's like, okay, but hold on, let's also bring everybody together, and we're going to give birth to something beautiful. It's this whole thing, Scott.
Well, Stormie, on behalf of the Florida Atlantic Chapter of the NCGR, we'd like to thank you for taking the time to tell us a little bit more about your April 22nd online workshop. And you all can go to floridaastrologyfla.com for further details. And this is Scott Silverman telling you to mind your own business, mainly by making sure you attend this fun, dynamic, and informative webinar.